So we looked at how to create luminance selections and luminance masks. So let's take a look how to use them in practice. Here I have the two variants of the photo I exported in the Lightroom video. One underexposed for the sky and one overexposed for the scenery. So let's load these two into Photoshop. So I just select both of them in Bridge and Tools, Photoshop, load files into Photoshop layers. This will load them, and since they are made from the same image, they will align properly anyway. So just a moment, and I have both. So I have in separate layers the dark exposure and the bright exposure. So if I want to blend them now, what I want to do is to select the dark parts of this underexposed image, so everything in the middle, and replace them with the same parts of this overexposed photo. So I keep the sky and the bottom part, maybe brighten the bottom part a little, but mostly just the middle part, and use the middle part from this photo. So we do what we did before. I want to select the darks part of this photo. So I will go into the channels palette. Let's take it here so it's better to use, and make it large so we see it. So I go here, and to select the dark parts, I will first control click on the RGB channel and save this selection so we can see it. So this is the lights selection, lights 1. So I will just invert it and let's call it darks 1. This is the quicker way of creating it. You could use the invert adjustment layer, but this will work for what we need. So we have the darks 1, and we can see that the part we need is a little brighter than the rest, but it's not as distinct as we would like to, because if I start using this selection as a mask, it will still affect a lot of the sky and the water. So I don't want to do that. So I will control click on it and control shift alt click again. And let's save this. And we have the darks 2. So I will hide the selection so you see it. Again, the parts I want to have selected still are very bright because they are the darkest parts of the image. As you can see them, they are the darkest. And the sky is a little less selected now. Also the water. If you compare with this, see the middle part is still selected very nicely. Just the sky has been reduced in selection, and also the water. But it's still not enough. So let's continue. Let's continue. Control click on the darks 1. Control Alt Shift click once, Control Alt Shift click twice. And I can see even from the marching ends, they are no longer anywhere in the sky, and there are still quite a lot in the down here in the water. So let's skip the darks 3 and just go straight to darks 4 and darks 5. So this would be darks 5, and let's look at it. As you can see, the middle part is still quite bright, just the top part is almost not selected at all, it's quite dark already. The water is still a little bit selected. So let's do this once more. Darks 2, darks 3, darks 4, darks 5, and like 6, 7, 8. Oops, not 6, 7, 8. And create the selection. So this would be darks 8. Because I clicked 8 times. Let's look at it. The middle part, it's still quite bright, so the darkest areas are still selected. Just the sky is almost completely deselected now, and the water is still a little bit selected, but I can use that because I want to brighten the bottom part anyway. So we have our selection. So we ended up choosing the darks 8, really a selection that only restricts the darkest parts of the image. So I will now do the following. I will take this brighter layer and create a layer mask on it, and I will create the black one. So Alt click on the create mask layer, and this will completely hide this layer. So we have the brighter layer on top of the darker layer, but the brighter layer is completely hidden. So select the layer mask because we want to work on it. Take a brush, make it white, and let's say around 60% opacity, and maybe a little bit bigger, so still bigger. Okay, so now with this selected, I will control click on the darks 8, so I have it selected. I will click on it. You can see my selection here. It selects just the really dark parts of the image and a little bit down here. And I will hide this selection because I don't want to have it obstructing my work. So I will hide it with Ctrl H. And now with the white brush, I will start painting on this layer mask. And so I will zoom in so you see it better. So I will start revealing the brighter parts where the darks are. So you can see I'm brightening just the really dark parts of the image. Let's brighten it even more. And let's do it same here. Okay. Maybe I go with the stronger opacity and just go once more across them. And I will take a bigger brush and just go once to the water here. So as you can see, I already blended my images. I got a really nice overall exposure. The whole image is nicely exposed everywhere. And now I can continue with my edits. If I wanted, I could add more contrast, I can add more color, I can add more sharpness. But let's first look back at the luminance mask we created. So if I alt click on this mask, you can see how it looks. You can see that the edges are really nice. You could not create a selection like this without luminance mask, but you can also see here I went a little bit into the sky. So I can look if it's a problem or not. It's not a big problem, but anyway I will try to correct this. So first I have to select deselect because the selection is still there, it's just hidden. And I will choose the burn tool, which darkens the pixels I go over with. So I will choose shadows because I want to affect the darkest parts here, and I can go with 100% exposure. I will make it a little smaller, and you see when I start painting here into the sky, it just affects the sky. It won't affect the building since it affects only the darkest parts because we selected shadows. So I can just go lightly around the corners here and so correct my layer mask so it just does not affect the sky anyway. So like here, and we're done. So I have a really nice selection that only selects the middle part and the water here. I blended these photos very nicely. You can see before, after, before, after. So every dark part of it was corrected to a bright part. Now I can continue, as I said, with the edits. I can, let's say, I can add a curves layer and add contrast to it, maybe a little less, maybe like this. I can then combine this into a new layer and add sharpness with the high pass filter. 2.5 pixels, okay, and soft light. And overall, I'm happy with the image. So this was what I started with, and this is what I ended with. So it's nicely exposed everywhere, and I have no dark areas, and I have no strong brights.